Hey there, and welcome back to Dormitabis Remastered by TheTrilogyCollective over on GameJolt. This is a game that covers an alternate reality in the FNAF timeline shortly after the FNAF 3 fire. Quick disclaimer, this is a remaster, not the original, which was controversial to put it mildly. Before we begin, I'll be using the Dormitabis Remastered wiki for some additional assistance in explaining certain events that aren't explicitly mentioned in the game. And of course, warning for flashing lights that may appear, as well as some descriptions of gore that'll come up at a certain point in the video. But of course, let's hop right into this horror show. The main premise: you were consumed by the fire and wake up once again in this horror attraction. Of course, before we even start with the game, we get this small paper cutout of a purple man sitting at a table with a tape recorder and a knife. Someone who we'll be talking about quite a bit. But first, you wake up and hear the phone ring.
Huh. Someone actually opened the connection. Hello? My name is Peter, and I was a manager for Freddy's back in 1993. So if you're wondering, yes, you're dead. I'm not sure how you died, but maybe something happened. Wait, it can't be. John? Christ, that would explain why everything looks worse. If you died by burning, then that means he's gonna be here soon. Ah, damn it. Well, you're in whatever godforsaken creation of Fredbear's Diner, worked by an entity with each passing death at any Freddy's establishment. This is like an eternal purgatory for both you and me. We can't see each other, though. This place only lets us see what it wants us to see. Oh, I almost forgot. Since you fucked things up by dying, I've been working on a short plan as we speak. There is a tape in the office. Grab it and play it once Freddy sleeps. There's some things you need to remember. I also have my own set of tapes to collect, so I'd better get to finding them now. We'll talk later.
So that's a lot to take in, especially since we have a grand total of 12 nights to go through. It's not clear why we're to blame for the state of this purgatory, but all we know is that we must survive all these nights if we have any hopes of getting out. Peter's coming up with a plan to get out of here. In the meantime, we have to survive until 7 AM. On night 1, we only deal with Havoc Freddy, who will approach us from the left. When he arrives, we must go to the other side of the table until he leaves. Now, this tape recorder that Peter spoke about is going to be used to listen to 10 tapes that are found around the restaurant that you can find from nights 1 through 10. The first tape we'll be listening to is from September 27th, 1982.
Is it? I can't tell if it's low. No, it can't. This is God, this is stupid. Okay. This is Garvey Wright. And I guess I'm talking to my future self. It's a silly idea, I know. I sort of want to keep this as a time capsule, I suppose. Something I can look back on. It's a weird idea, but maybe it'll help. Give some good use to this recorder Alex gave me. Everyone gave me things. I suppose it was my birthday. I'm not sure if they got that off the papers or not, but I'm not sure how they knew. It doesn't seem to matter. I appreciate it. Alex got me this recorder. Peter got me some pocket change, I guess, to buy what I want, which is new. And John got me this toy. I don't think he 100% knows what older people like me are into. Guys, this seems more like something he would have wanted to get for himself, but he's a nice kid, and it's a nice gift. I want to help these people out. They went through all the effort of bringing me in. It would only make sense that I help lighten the load around the house. So I'm thinking of entering the family business. Wish me luck. How do...
Meet Garvey Wright, who is making these recordings to serve as a time capsule for his future self. He knows you as a kid at the time of the recording, as well as Peter. Garvey was adopted by your family, and he wants to pay them back for everything that they've done for him. As a result, he decides to help out with the family business. Now, considering that we have a lot of tapes and a lot of nights to go through, I'd like to cover the tapes one by one after each night to kind of prevent overloading you with 20 plus minutes worth of tapes in one sitting. Of course, night 2 has our next character, Havoc Chica, who will make her way to her office via the right door. Once she arrives, you must go to the other side of the table and look in her direction for a few seconds until she leaves. You must then hurry back to the monitor, or else you'll be attacked by her cupcake. Peter's second call explains that these monsters are attempting to kill you because you both have something called plasma, which can be used to fix/free the monsters and put them to rest. Peter also brings up another monster dubbed Am I Real, who will appear at a random camera, but not without telling you which camera he'll be on. You must continuously stare at them until they revert back to their original state. This is especially important when forced to leave the monitor side of the table, like with Havoc Chica or Havoc Freddy. This is because you can't risk leaving him to his devices for too long, so before you move across the table, be sure to at the very least check on Am I Real. Now, night 2 only has Havoc Chica and Am I Real active, which leads us to an easy 7 AM, meaning that we can listen to our second tape, which takes place a few days after the first one.
Hey there, again. Me, I guess. This is weird. Can we both just acknowledge this is a weird thing that's happening? Good news, I got the job. You know that. Of course, you know that, because it's already happened to you, but... Look, I got the job. The only position that they had available was janitor, which... I'm not gonna lie, I was a little disappointed by initially. I would have given anything to be able to perform up on that stage, giving kids the show of a lifetime, but the work isn't that hard. All I gotta do is just clean up the occasional mess around the place. It's really simple, actually. Well, mostly simple. I still have to deal with the occasional rowdy youth, I guess. I'm sure that they're fine when they're at home or hanging out with their friends, but I notice that whenever they're here, I don't know, they just kind of get rowdy. It's not my business to say, obviously, but they should probably be a little bit more respectful of their surroundings. I hope I don't have to clean up nearly as much as I did for my first day for the next while. And some of them were picking on each other. It wasn't nice to watch. I had to go away for a bit. Sort of walk into a closet to compose myself. Peter helped me. He helped me get back there and, I guess, get back to reality. It's a weird way to describe it, but I don't know. I don't know how else to describe it. I hope that their parents know what they're doing and do something about that behavior. Because we shouldn't be accepting that in an establishment like this. I guess it's just not my place to say again. But anyways, Peter? Yeah, I'm getting back soon. I'm on my break. Yeah. Okay? Yeah. I need to find a better place to record these
A new position at the family business, earning money, helping out his family. The only downside, is rowdy children. Watching the children pick on each other troubled Garvey quite a bit, who went into a closet in order to calm down, and even needed Peter's help. I can only imagine he had a rough childhood in his past, possibly at the hand of his original family and those around him. That might be the motivation behind wanting to actually perform for children and give them the show of a lifetime. Our third night introduces quite a few new characters, but first, some backstory on what these monsters actually are. These monsters are victims of the murders that took place at Freddy's, and the puppet used plasma to bring these spirits back. This plasma apparently came from this molten rabbit who has been here for a very long time now. However, the puppet stole this plasma from the molten rabbit, so as punishment, the molten rabbit corrupted all of the spirits. So now these spirits can only fix/free themselves using the plasma that our souls are made out of, or something to that effect. That's how we found ourselves in this conflict with these monsters. First, we have a purple character named Dawnbreaker who appears at 6 AM, essentially freezing all of the monsters in place. You must find out where he's hiding in your office in order to make the time jump to 7 AM, allowing you to move on to the next night. If you don't find him in time, he'll kill you. Next, he describes Soul Cage, a figure that uses metal rods to connect various props from Fazbear Frights, specifically the heads of the core 4 animatronics. They'll attempt to kill you from above, but if you stare at them for a while, they'll go away. Finally, Havoc Bonnie is introduced, who is approaching from the right side and then quickly runs to the left side in an attempt to trick you. You must keep your eye on him in order to scare him away. Now our third tape actually takes place almost an entire year after the second one, on the 6th of September 1983.
Hey again. It's been a while. I haven't turned on this thing in a really long time. I wasn't sure how... I wonder how things are going over there, I guess. I mean, obviously I can't know necessarily how things are going, but I can hope that... Look, it's stupid, alright? Let me just get to what's been going on. My pay has been increasing by quite a bit, actually. Apparently, being a janitor has its quirks. I've managed to make quite a bit of pocket change for myself. Hopefully that'll help with the increasing issues that have been going on financially. Especially with John's birthday coming around soon. We're going to have to spend it in the establishment this time, which I know he's not the biggest fan of it. I imagine that he's not too happy that he has to spend most of his time after school there, since all of his family works at the establishment, and I can tell that he doesn't like the animatronics. I mean, I don't necessarily like them either, but they do give off some feeling. I'm not totally certain. Hopefully this new rabbit that I'm helping fix up will lighten that up, I guess. Hopefully. But it won't help because he's been having a hard time again. Which is a shame because, I mean, I already taught someone how to behave around here. One of the kids that was being mean to him. I tried to tell him how not to act, but he still insists on hurting him. I'm not sure what to think right now. But I just want to make this birthday good for John. Better than it was for me, at least. I can see a lot of myself in him, you know. I hope whenever you're listening to this again that John's doing better. But I guess his birthday's coming up, and hopefully things will turn around from there.
Things have slowly looked up for Garvey, who saved quite a bit of pocket change. It'll be your birthday soon, and they'll be celebrating it at Freddy's, even though you're not a big fan of the place. Both you and Garvey are not a fan of the animatronics, and you've been running into troubles with other kids. Now, Garvey says that he already tried to discipline one of the kids that picked on you, but it never panned out. Despite this fact, Garvey still hopes to make your birthday a positive one. Now, on night 4, Peter's finally figured out a plan, but first has to tell you about all the new spirits that are popping up. The first one's Havoc Puppet, described as a squid-shaped puppet creature responsible for all the spirits being here. However, the puppet's origins itself is unknown. When you hear music playing, you must turn around and look at the puppet until it leaves. Next, we have Havoc BB and JJ. First, you must look towards the left to get rid of JJ, then go to the other side and get rid of BB. Remember those tapes that Peter told you to collect? He's been collecting his own, and these tapes hold the key on how to escape this purgatory, but an interruption from a certain fox has prevented him from explaining further, as the phone call abruptly ends. Our fourth tape takes place 2 months later.
How were they supposed to know? I couldn't have known that they would... It was supposed to be his day. It's all wrong. The fucking bear. We should have known it wasn't safe. John, please. John. Please, John. Just, please be okay. This can't be how it always happens. This needs to be different. John has to stay alive. It was all those fucking kids, those
Safe to say, your birthday didn't go to plan, and Garvey is distraught over what happened. You got into an incident with one of the animatronics, and your condition is unclear at this point. Garvey blames the kids, probably the ones that were picking on you months ago. This might just be the straw that broke the camel's back. On night 5, Peter explains that he was stuffed into a suit from the old Freddy's location from 1984, the same location that opened after Fredbear's Family Diner. This location would be the same one where 4 children went missing and stayed open until 1993. Now this suit claimed another victim besides Peter, and this victim was revived by the puppet, leading to his spirit being corrupted by the molten rabbit instead of Peter. This is Golden Call, since he gives off an audio cue of a ringing telephone when he appears behind you. Look at him after hearing this audio cue to make him leave. We also have Havoc Foxy, presumably the one that interrupted Peter last night. He'll leave a sign on camera 5 telling you which door he'll be approaching from. Not sure if this is meant to be as some sort of taunt or maybe pity. As for why the tapes show up in this purgatory, it's because the tapes are actually scattered around all of the different Freddy Fazbear restaurants, which is a weird explanation, but I'll take his word for it since we are collecting them in the first place. Of course, this plan will only help you and Peter, but as for the others, they'll probably still be trapped here. Now our 5th tape takes place a staggering 4 years after the previous one, on the 9th of February, 1987.
They're gone. All 5 of them. In that back room. They're going to stay there. Until they learn that they aren't meant to do what they did. They're lucky that John's alive. They are lucky. That doesn't mean they're above being taught a lesson. Their parents don't know. They shouldn't know. They're never going to know. they'll just be faces on posters until the end of time. It's about all they deserve.
A very dark turn, revealing that Garvey is the one responsible for the missing children, all as some sort of twisted punishment for their role in your incident, which you actually managed to survive. In his eyes, these kids deserve to be taught a lesson for what happened to you, their final lesson. The one question I have is, why now? What has he been doing in the past 4 years that led up to this point? Peter continues talking about his plan on night 6, where one of his tapes revealed that the old Freddy's location had a secret safe room, which he'll try to go and find to see where it might lead him. As for saving the spirits of the victims, apparently there are some things that'll appear for us that we'd have to collect in order to save them, but by now, it could be too late. This is actually part of how you achieve the game's good ending, but we'll address that later towards the end. While Peter doesn't address any new characters, there is one new spirit that appears, referred to as the BOA, aka the Box of Abominations, who will make their way to your right door. Once they arrive, you must run to the other side and stare at it until all of their heads turn downward. Tape number 6 takes place on the 27th of June, 1987. Another reminder about the mature content warning, by the way, due to gory details specifically.
There was another one today. A younger girl, probably around 14, 15. She was causing even more problems around the establishment. I'm assuming she just thought she was too good for this place. This place. But she wanted to cause problems. She wanted to hurt someone. So I hurt her. She's inside of one of the suits now. I may have dislocated some of her arm while I was pushing her inside. But it's done now. She's not with the others. The others didn't get the luxury of something like that. But there's a problem. Fritz is onto something. Fucking Fritz. He believes in the idea of this company. The idea that these kids should have a safe place to be. We both believe in that idea, but we aren't going about it the same way. And I don't think he would approve of what I've been up to. I gave him an excuse when I left the back room. I could tell for now that satisfied him, but I need to start thinking about alternatives. It shouldn't have to come down to that. And I hope it doesn't come down to that. I hope he just understands that what's happening is just for the better. But if he doesn't, I need to start thinking about that.
Another victim stuffed into the suit. This time, a 14/15-year-old girl who was killed by Garvey because she, quote-unquote, disrespected this place. He talks about how this girl was afforded a luxury that the other dead children never experienced, and that all of this is for the better. Someone named Fritz, however, is starting to get suspicious about Garvey and his activities in the back room, which makes Garvey consider finding alternatives to killing and stuffing victims in suits. He even contemplates dealing with Fritz himself. He's convinced that all of this is justified, a clear sign that he has lost grip with reality. On night 7, Peter noticed that the spirit's activity has gotten more aggressive over the past 6 months, and this is because of the Molten Rabbit's influence over the spirits, since they did corrupt these spirits after all. Now this Molten Rabbit is referred to as Molten Evil, who's now focused their attention on you. If you see her behind the monitor, you must look up quickly to prevent her from taking your plasma, essentially wiping you out. Tape number 7 takes place only 2 days after tape number 6.
Peter doesn't get it. Peter doesn't get it. Peter's never understood. Peter's just wrong. He wants to keep this company running despite everything. Does he know what happened to John? Does he know what happened to everyone? This place, this company, all that it brings is pain and misery. But he doesn't get that. All he wants to do is keep the place running. And I don't even know what for. For money? For brand appeal? If he wants to be giving children an experience, wants to give them happiness, then the only way to give them happiness is to keep this place gone. Because he knows what this place is capable of. He's seen what's happened. He knows what's happened. He knows what's going to happen. There's a birthday today. There's going to be another incident. Someone is going to get hurt at another Fazbear location. Peter can't ignore it for much longer. He can't.
Garvey is now against the company as a whole. Even Peter, his family, who wants to keep the place open, despite what's happened in the past. Of course, the irony here is that Garvey's the one responsible for a lot of the incidents, and won't stop creating these tragedies until Peter decides to shut the place down. He claims to hate what happens to children here, the pain they go through, while simultaneously being part of that cycle of violence over and over again. It's ironic how, at one point, he wanted to be a part of this family business, and now he seeks to tear it all down. On night 8, Peter found an extra pair of keys, which is the key to getting out of this purgatory. As he searched through the back room, he found a large rabbit figure that would go on to scream a bunch of familiar names, and he believes this is what's left of Garvey. Meanwhile, another character named Springlick is introduced, who creates a pop-up on your monitor when attempting to attack you. The pop-up will display a 4-digit code, with each digit representing a camera button that you must click on to close the window. For example, if the code was 1234, then you would have to go on cameras 1, 2, 3, 4 in that order to close the pop-up. Now, with regards to this character specifically, there are actually no real details with its origin. All we really know is that it is a tie-in character from another game, according to the wiki. 6 years later, we have our 8th tape, May 5th, 1993.
I knew it. Peter is too prideful. He's been looking into things. He and Fritz. But Fritz won't be a problem anymore. He's in the Cake Bear now. That original suit. The first one. I don't want to hurt family. I shouldn't have to hurt family. It shouldn't have to be this way. But Peter has continually ignored all of these warnings, all of these messages telling him to stop, telling him to let this company, let these characters, let all of these lost little souls rest. But he won't. He's going to continue letting this beacon of hate fester. And if he's not going to stop, then I'm not going to stop either. I want this place gone, buried, burned. And if that means hurting them, maybe it's for the best.
Peter's been investigating into matters along with Fritz, who's now been dealt with by Garvey, stuffed into the Cake Bear suit, the one that goes on to become Am I Real? He doesn't want to hurt his own family, but he acts as though Peter's forcing his hand by investigating the disappearances and keeping the restaurant open. Garvey refuses to stop the cycle though, for as long as the restaurant stays open, he will continue to be the very problem that he claims to hate. Whatever trauma he's had in the past, it doesn't excuse his actions in any way, not even after what happened to you. On night 9, Peter leaves his final call, revealing that those spare keys he had were all a lie, and that they are now both stuck here now.
John, I hope you received this call. Look. I'm absolutely done for. The keys? The spare keys were a fucking lie this whole damn time. I was screwed from the start, and I don't know what to do anymore. I'm sorry, John. I tried taking the old keys back, but they're gone. I don't know where I put them, so we're both screwed now. He's already torn them all apart, but the worst part? You've been one day behind from me. I don't even think I'm the same Peter you recognize. I don't even think I'm real anymore. Just get the fuck out of this place, Sean. It's the best I can hope for. I just can't take this, and I won't let Garvey have his satisfaction of killing me. I'm gonna hang up for good. Well, I guess this is goodbye, John.
A bit of false hope, it seems. Not only that, but apparently the calls that Peter has been leaving for you are actually a day ahead of you, not on the same night, which gives Peter a bit of a post-existential crisis. This was a weird detail to notice. At the very least, what it seems like is on night 9 when we received the call, that's actually taking place on night 10 for Peter. It's a very weird detail, and I don't really know what's the point of it, but all I know is that it shook Peter to his core, and he ends up giving you his final goodbye, refusing to let Garvey have the satisfaction of killing him. Like I said, an odd conclusion for Peter's side of things. I'm not even sure I understand what happened to him. Did he just give up and quote-unquote rest? Now we have the penultimate tape, dated the 26th of June, 1993.
They found them. All of them. All the bodies. The place is shutting down. After everything, this should feel good. But Peter's gone. I hurt my family. He wouldn't listen to me. There was nothing I could have done, but I could have done something. I could have done anything. And I did. I did do something. Things were supposed to be different. This family was supposed to be something new. They took me in. They took me in. I was supposed to protect them. I've seen the way they look at me. They know what I've done. I need to do something. And I need to do it now.
After all these years, Garvey's victims were found in the back room. All of them. The restaurant is finally shutting down, and Garvey got what he wanted, in a sense. Of course, he already killed Peter, despite his claims of not wanting to kill his family. He was supposed to protect his family, and in reality, he's caused them more harm than ever imaginable. And now, he has one more thing that he needs to do. Even with all that said, it's actually crazy to think that he never considered just killing one kid and letting them be found so that the restaurant can just shut down. As horrible as that is on its own, what he did now is way worse. And all of this, from his perspective, is punishing children, especially for what happened to you. Part of me thinks that the reason why he left it all up to Peter is because he needed to keep punishing children, at least up to the point where he could no longer do so if the restaurant shut down. But now we've reached night 10, a special night, because it's time for you to come face to face with the man who moved hell for you, Garvey Wright. He has quite a lot to say to you during this reunion, but you'll have to fend him off in the meantime. He has two mechanics. One of them requires you to go on camera and look at the radar to see which vent he's entering in. Once you know which vent he's entering through, you must click on that vent and then go to the other side of the table and look at the side he's approaching from. If you hear his laughter, then you must look at the side from which you heard the laughter, unless you heard from both sides, which means you must look above you. With that said, I'm gonna let Garvey give his entire monologue, so take it away. As expected, he claims that everything he did was for you. It was all so that you could prosper, and yet you were selfish for leaving your family behind, trapped in here, and as a result, will inevitably create another Garvey down the line. The only way that you and Garvey can escape this hell now is together, by becoming one, but you don't plan on doing this. While Garvey tries to admit that he was possibly in the wrong for what he did, he still expects you to feel some sort of gratitude for the lengths that Garvey went for you, as if anyone would thank him for annihilating a bunch of kids in your name, even including members of his own family. Considering the fact that both you and Garvey died in the FNAF 3 fire, it's presumed that you're the one that started it in the first place, especially based on Garvey's dialogue here. So the question is, how did you figure it out? Maybe you looked into what happened with Peter and Fritz, leading to this horrible truth. Now this is where we talk about the bad ending, which is achieved once you beat all 10 nights. Your fate is left unclear, with your tombstone sitting there, a gift box seeping with ink, a lit lighter, and a fire roaring behind. But this is actually one step in achieving the game's good ending. We've already completed the first step, which is beating night 10. Because now, we can listen to the final tape left by Garvey, only one day after the previous tape.
John, I know you're listening, so listen well. You know what I did, what I've done, all the people that I've hurt. I thought I knew why I did it. I thought I was doing it for a good reason. And part of me still believes in that reason. But I also know that I enjoyed it. I enjoyed every moment that I made those little things squeal. I wrung each and every one of them out with my bare hands. Even Peter. Someone from my family. Someone I was supposed to protect. And that I can't justify that. So if all I can do is destroy, I'm going to do that. I'm going to destroy them one last time. By the time you're listening to this, I'm going to be at the old Fredbear's location. I'm going to set them free. The first ones. It won't fix anything. But maybe they'll finally be free from all this. And I don't expect to be coming back. But if I do, John, if I do come back, you need to find me. You need to find me, and you need to stop me, because I won't be me anymore. I'm going to be everything I denied I was. Everything I think I really am. Find it, and put an end to it.
A final message to you, who knows what Garvey did. Despite what he told us on night 10, he admits here that he got pleasure out of killing the children, including Peter apparently. At least he was able to be a bit honest with us here. Next up on the list, we must beat night 11, aka Nightmare Night, which will be one of the hardest nights to beat by far. Beating Nightmare Night reveals a cutscene where the spirit of the puppet talks to us and tells us to listen to the tapes and go to the cardboard theater, a timed minigame where you play as Garvey, reenacting a lot of the events that occurred before you ended up in purgatory. Towards the end, we see how Garvey ends up in the spring-lock suit after freeing the ghosts of his victims from the suit. However, he didn't really die, as he appears outside of our office window while working as a security guard during the events of FNAF 3. This is when we attempt to escape the building as it's running ablaze, but we know how that worked out. It ends with a jump scare from Havoc Puppet, thus unlocking Night 12, aka Cake Bears. However, before we can play Night 12, we must complete a nose-clicking minigame which is accessed by typing "Am I real?" on the main menu. This minigame is pretty simple. You must click on Cake Bear's nose as much as possible, while typing whatever numbers appear on screen as fast as possible. If you succeed, a jump scare from Cake Bear will appear, granting you access to Night 12. Trust me, I have no idea why we had to do this. Now we have access to Night 12, which takes place at Cake Bear's, the original establishment before Freddy's. We'll be dealing with only two characters this night, Cake Bear and Havoc Puppet. With Cake Bear, we must flip the camera up after they move 3 times within the dining room, slowly approaching us. As for a Havoc Puppet, they'll appear randomly at one of the 3 cameras, where we must stare at them until they leave, or else they'll disable the cameras temporarily, which puts us in trouble with Cake Bear. While doing all of this, we must also manage the camera system's battery power, or else we'll run into trouble with Cake Bear and Havoc Puppet should the cameras go out. Now if you beat Night 12, you get the FNAF 4 box, which contains newspaper cutouts following the game's events in chronological order. Truth be told, despite everything that Garvey did, he is actually not the reason for the first tragedy that has plagued this family. The first tragedy was at Cake Bear's, the murder of Julie Wright, your mother, who was found in the dumpster behind Cake Bear's Pizza Palace, prompting the closure of the restaurant. Your father, the CEO of Cake Bear's, Alex Wright, had plans on selling the brand to Fazbear Entertainment, especially after learning his wife was murdered. Then, Fredbear's Family Diner would open, enjoying massive success considering the major improvements it had over Cake Bear's, which would unfortunately be short-lived after the bite of 83, leaving you critically injured. At the same time, Alex Wright was not only charged for safety violations, but for the first-degree murder of his wife and the second-degree murder of a child who was found in a dumpster behind Fredbear's Family Diner. Fazbear's troubles wouldn't stop there, with another incident at Freddy Jr.'s Pizzeria regarding an animatronic incident with employee Jeremy Fitzgerald who would die while in transport to the hospital. At the same time, customers filed complaints about an awful odor that came from the parts and service room, as well as the bathroom vents. This led to the arrest and firing of Fritz Smith, who was tampering with electronics, and charged with the first-degree murder of Jeremy Fitzgerald. Freddy Jr.'s Pizzeria would also close down as a result. Eventually, police would find the corpses of 4 missing children at Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria, who were the source of the foul smell that customers complained about. This would lead police to drop Alex Wright's charges of second-degree murder, since they concluded that whoever killed the first child at Fredbear's were also responsible for the murders of the other 4 children. Finally, after 11 years of trouble, Freddy's would finally close down after CEO Peter Wright and a child were found dead at Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria, while Fritz Smith was found a year later, stuffed inside the Cake Bear suit, which was shoved into a vent. At this point, Fazbear Entertainment has lost all interest in the brand, and has paid out reparations to those who were affected by these tragedies. Of course, police would find a likely suspect in Garvey Wright, the adopted son of the Wright family, who's avoided all contact with police and refused to give any information on the whereabouts of his younger brother, making him a very likely suspect. Unfortunately, he disappeared after June 1993 and was never seen again. In other news, John remained at the family home, and Alex Wright finished serving his sentence, which seems awfully short given its first-degree murder. After you read all of the newspaper clippings, the FNAF 4 box appears once again, with Havoc Puppet slowly appearing in front of it, along with a heart on top of the box, and some of the other spirits as well, indicating that you've helped him find peace after all this time. Now that is the true conclusion to our story here with Dormitabis Remastered, but there's actually a secret third ending, which doesn't really impact the story. It's more like a what-if scenario. In order to unlock this ending, you need to complete some arbitrary steps. On night 5, look to the left at 1 AM and you'll see Havoc's spring body. On night 9, look to your right at 2 AM and you'll see Havoc Fredbear. On Nightmare Night, look to your right at 11 PM and stare at Fredbear while typing Bite. This unlocks Bite Night, a night where you must look at the Bite, the only antagonist of the night. He'll appear randomly on your left, right, or above you, and all you have to do is look at him. There is also a cameo character named Sorrow Spring, who will only appear on the monitor if you attempt to use it, with him stating that you won't be needing it. Reaching 7 AM on this night shows a cutscene of John as an adult having a flashback to the Bite of 83 in the Cardboard Theater, where your sprite slowly fades away afterwards. Now, according to the wiki, there's some sort of implication that this is supposed to mean that John dies during the Bite of 83, which doesn't make too much sense because obviously we have the adult sprite of John looking on. And instead, I'd like to offer the idea of this being an ending that takes place after we die in the FNAF 3 fire. Instead of being trapped into purgatory, we actually find peace, but not before seeing a pivotal moment in our life that changed the course for both us and Garvey, especially with everything that he chose to do afterwards. Now, back to the good ending, there are some spirits that did not seemingly find peace. Among these spirits were Havoc Bonnie, Dawnbreaker, Havoc BB and JJ, Golden Call, Molten Evil, and Garvey. It's actually not clear why characters like Havoc Bonnie, BB, JJ, and Golden Call never found peace. Perhaps they were unable to break free from Molten Evil's corruption and are trapped in this purgatory forever. As for Dawnbreaker, the wiki describes this entity as the remainder of Garvey's humanity, who acts as a support character for John throughout the nights. That's why he skips past 6 AM when you find him, as well as the time freeze for all the other spirits. The only odd thing is that if you fail to interact with Dawnbreaker, he kills you. So, if this is the remainder of Garvey's humanity, why does he go on to kill you if you fail to find him? As for Garvey, we already know that his only chance of escape was with John, which he lost after night 10. Finally, Molten Evil's a bit more complicated, because according to the wiki, Molten Evil is actually Julie Wright, the first victim associated with Cake Bears, and subsequently Freddy Fazbear's. Considering the circumstances behind her death were vastly different compared to the children, that probably explains why she never found peace. After all, her grievances are with Alex Wright, not with you or Garvey. The only weird part about this idea is that Julie Wright is trying to kill you throughout the nights by stealing your plasma. Considering this game's story revolved heavily around Garvey, John, and Peter to an extent, it's no surprise that Julie Wright wasn't really mentioned at all here. Her death didn't really play a major role in the events that proceeded throughout the tapes, right? She didn't really have much involvement with what happened to Garvey. Now, the game's extras also describe Julie as both neglectful and abusive, which might explain her behavior towards you throughout the nights and why she isn't trying to help you get out, I suppose. Maybe she just was never a good person to begin with, but I think part of that is also because of her vengeful nature after being killed by her husband. Well, that leaves what's considered to be a rather bittersweet ending to Dormitabis Remastered. Sure, we freed some of the spirits that were trapped in this hell, and left Garvey behind, but it was all we could do considering this horrendous situation. By my count, Garvey claimed a dozen victims, starting from even before John's birthday party and the bite. Clearly, the main character in this story is Garvey Wright. We pretty much spent the majority of the game learning about what happened with Garvey, how he went from being this person that wanted to help out the family business and entertain children to someone that wanted to burn it down and terrorize children, or pretty much kill, I guess. Terrorize kind of fits in the same area there, but it's such a shift that occurred because of not only the behavior he witnessed from these children that were harassing John, but also the bite of 83. All of that transformed him to this hateful person that got pleasure out of killing the children. And finally, at the very end, when John knows all this, he confesses to John that even though he thought he was doing all this for John, a part of him realized that he enjoyed what he was doing. And I guess in a final redeeming act, he chooses to set his first set of victims free, which obviously leads to him getting spring locked in the suit and coming back as the monster we see on night 10. And all of this for what? Because at the very end, John also dies. Now, the only main thing that stayed in the forefront of my mind after talking about everything here is the comment that Peter had about John's death having a major impact on the purgatory itself, because he says that everything looks worse when he realizes that John's the one who died. And I don't know if that's because it has to do with Garvey, right? The last thing Garvey would have wanted was for John to die due to his actions to some degree, right? And I don't know, it was something that he says at the very beginning of the game that I was never able to really piece together. So I don't really know where to go with that, but it doesn't seem to have too much of an impact from what I've been able to mention here so far. It never really comes up again, so that's just something I wanted to address. Even after that, we don't really know what happened to Peter after Night 9. He just disappears after that. Maybe he found peace, or faded away in despair. Like I said, bittersweet. There is no real winner here in the end. But of course, with all that said, I hope you did enjoy. If you did, leave a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Let me know you're enjoying the content and want to see more of it. The game will be in the description below as always. And with that said, I'll see you in another video. Take care.